Have you ever wondered what it feels like to be completely alone, with no hope left in your heart? On a scorching summer day in Phoenix, Arizona, a story of incredible resilience and compassion was about to unfold. One that would change not just a dog's life, but touch the hearts of everyone who witnessed it. The German Shepherd lay motionless on the burning asphalt of East Van Buren Street, his ribs protruding sharply through his matted fur. His once proud stance was now reduced to a desperate struggle just to breathe, each inhale sending shivers through his emaciated frame. Time seemed to have lost all meaning as cars whizzed by, their drivers barely sparing a glance at the dying animal. Sarah Martinez, a 34-year-old nurse, was driving home from her night shift at Banner University Medical Center when she first spotted him. Her tired eyes almost missed the heap of fur on the roadside, but something made her slow down. Perhaps it was instinct or maybe divine intervention. Whatever it was, it would prove to be the turning point in both their lives. The dog's story, as they would later discover, was one of heartbreaking abandonment. Security camera footage from a nearby business would reveal how he had been dumped from a moving vehicle 3 weeks earlier, left to fend for himself in one of Phoenix's most unforgiving neighborhoods. The once majestic German Shepherd, who would later be named Phoenix, had survived on scraps and puddle water, his spirit diminishing with each passing day. Dr. James Cooper, the veterinarian who would soon become integral to this story, had seen many cases of animal abandonment in his 20 years of practice, but something about Phoenix's case would touch him differently. "In all my years," he would later say, "I've never seen an animal with such a strong will to live, despite everything that had been done to him." The morning sun cast long shadows across the street as Sarah pulled over, her heart pounding in her chest. The German Shepherd's eyes, though dulled by suffering, still held a glimmer of life, a tiny spark that seemed to plead for help. It was a moment that would haunt Sarah for years to come, the way those brown eyes looked up at her, carrying both fear and a desperate hope. Time was running out for Phoenix. His body temperature had soared to dangerous levels from lying on the hot asphalt, and dehydration had left him too weak to stand. Every breath seemed to be a battle, his chest rising and falling in an irregular rhythm that spoke of profound exhaustion and distress. The neighborhood around them was just beginning to wake up. A few early morning joggers passed by, some slowing down to watch the scene unfold. Among them was Mike Thompson, a local firefighter who would soon become another guardian angel in Phoenix's journey to recovery. His experience with emergency situations would prove invaluable in the crucial minutes to come. The sound of traffic grew louder as the morning rush hour approached, adding urgency to the situation. Phoenix needed immediate medical attention, but moving an injured and frightened dog required careful consideration. One wrong move could worsen his condition or break the fragile trust beginning to form between him and his rescuers. Life on the streets had taught Phoenix to be wary of humans, yet something in Sarah's gentle approach seemed to reach through his defenses. Perhaps it was the soft tone of her voice or the careful way she knelt beside him, making herself small and non-threatening. Whatever it was, it created a connection that would prove to be unbreakable. As Sarah reached out her hand, the world seemed to hold its breath. Phoenix's story hung in the balance. Would he accept help, or would fear drive him to use his last bits of strength to retreat? The next few moments would determine not just his fate, but set in motion a chain of events that would inspire an entire community. The morning traffic continued to build around them, creating a stark contrast between the fast-paced world rushing by and the intimate moment unfolding on that patch of sun-baked asphalt. Each second felt like an eternity as Sarah waited, her hand extended, her heart silently pleading with the broken creature before her. Mike Thompson had now joined Sarah, his trained eye assessing the situation with professional calm. Together, they formed an impromptu rescue team, their determination to save this one life, creating a bubble of hope in the midst of the busy street. The German Shepherd's fate now rested in their hands. In the distance, sirens wailed, and the city continued its morning routine, unaware of the drama unfolding on East Van Buren Street. But for Sarah, Mike, and the dying dog before them, the entire world had narrowed to this one moment, this one choice that would change everything. The German Shepherd's story was about to take an extraordinary turn. Though he didn't know it yet, his days of suffering were coming to an end. The journey ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in weeks, he wasn't alone anymore. Hope had arrived in the form of two strangers who refused to look away. What happened next would not only save Phoenix's life, but would also remind an entire community about the power of compassion and the incredible resilience of the spirit. Sometimes the greatest acts of humanity happen in the most unexpected moments, on ordinary streets, with ordinary people who choose to do extraordinary things. Phoenix's eyes began to close, his strength fading fast under the mounting morning heat. Sarah knew they were running out of time. The next few minutes would determine whether this beautiful creature would live to see another sunset, or whether the harsh streets of Phoenix would claim another victim. What no one knew at that moment was that this rescue would spark a movement, touching hearts far beyond the boundaries of their city. Phoenix's story was about to become a testament to the unbreakable bond between humans and animals, and the miraculous things that can happen when people refuse to give up on a life in need. The city of Phoenix was about to witness a miracle, one that would begin with a dying dog on a hot street and end with a story of hope that would inspire thousands. But first, Sarah and Mike had to figure out how to move a frightened, injured German Shepherd without causing him more pain or breaking the fragile trust they had begun to build. Time was of the essence, and as the sun climbed higher in the Arizona sky, the real challenge was just beginning. Phoenix's journey from death's door to a new life was about to unfold, and every second counted. As Sarah's hand finally made contact with Phoenix's matted fur, the true extent of his condition became horrifyingly clear. His skin burned with fever, and beneath the tangled coat, countless wounds told a story of weeks of suffering. The German Shepherd's breathing was shallow and irregular, each breath seeming more labored than the last. Time was slipping away like sand through their fingers, and they needed to act fast. Dr. Cooper's voice crackled through Sarah's phone speaker, his words carrying both urgency and concern. He's probably suffering from severe dehydration, possible internal injuries, and given his condition, organ failure might be setting in. We need to get him here immediately, but moving him is going to be extremely risky. The gravity of Phoenix's situation hung heavy in the air, as Sarah and Mike exchanged worried glances. Every attempt to lift Phoenix resulted in heart-wrenching whimpers that tore through their souls. His body was so fragile, so broken, that even the gentlest touch seemed to cause him unbearable pain. Mike's firefighter training told him they were racing against time. The dog's core temperature was dangerously high from lying on the scorching asphalt, and his vital signs were growing weaker by the minute. The crowd gathering around them added another layer of complexity to the situation. Well-meaning onlookers offered advice and assistance, but their presence seemed to agitate Phoenix, whose trust extended only to Sarah and Mike. His eyes, though clouded with pain, tracked every movement around him with growing anxiety, his breathing becoming more erratic with each new voice and shadow that fell across his broken body. The sound of approaching sirens sent a wave of panic through Phoenix's frail frame. His muscles tensed, and for a terrifying moment, it seemed he might try to flee, a move that could prove fatal in his condition. Sarah quickly positioned herself to block his view of the street, speaking in soft, soothing tones that seemed to be the only thing keeping him tethered to consciousness. Back at Banner University Medical Center, Sarah's colleagues were frantically trying to locate her. Her shift had ended hours ago, and there were critical patients waiting. The weight of her professional responsibilities pressed against her conscience, but one look at Phoenix's pleading eyes made her decision clear. She couldn't leave him. Not now. Not like this. The midday sun beat down mercilessly as Mike made another attempt to create a makeshift stretcher from his firefighter's jacket. Phoenix's blood had soaked through the material, revealing just how serious his external injuries were. The sight of fresh blood trickling from his wounds sent a surge of urgency through the rescue team. They were running out of options and time. Dr. Cooper's clinic was 20 minutes away in good traffic, but the morning rush hour had turned the streets into a virtual parking lot. Even if they managed to get Phoenix into a vehicle, the journey would be treacherous. Every bump, every turn could worsen his injuries, and in his weakened state, he might not survive the trip. The German Shepherd's past began to reveal itself through his injuries. Dr. Cooper, now on speakerphone, pointed out that some of Phoenix's wounds were old, suggesting a long history of abuse before his abandonment. The revelation hit Sarah and Mike hard, adding a layer of emotional anguish to their already desperate situation. Phoenix's condition suddenly took a turn for the worse. His breathing became more labored, and his eyes began to lose focus. The spark of life that had drawn Sarah to him was flickering dangerously low. Mike noticed his gums turning an alarming shade of blue, a sign that oxygen wasn't reaching his tissues properly. They had to act now, regardless of the risks. A local news van pulled up, drawn by the growing crowd and the emergency vehicles. The reporters approached sent Phoenix into a panic, his body trembling violently despite his weakness. Sarah found herself torn between the need to protect him from the chaos and the possibility that media attention might help locate the people responsible for his condition. The sound of Phoenix's whimpers grew weaker, each breath seeming to require more effort than the last. His eyes, fixed on Sarah's face, held a depth of trust that made her heart ache. She had made him a silent promise when she first stopped her car, and now that promise felt like it was slipping through her fingers. Mike's voice cut through the mounting tension. His temperature's rising and his pulse is getting weaker. "We can't wait any longer." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. They had to move Phoenix now, even though moving him might kill him. The choice was impossible, but doing nothing meant certain death. The crowd's murmurs grew louder as Phoenix's condition deteriorated before their eyes. Someone had started recording with their phone, broadcasting the unfolding drama on social media. The German Shepherd's story was spreading across the internet even as his life hung by a thread on that hot Phoenix street. Suddenly, Phoenix's body went limp. His eyes rolled back, and for a horrifying moment, everything stopped. Sarah's medical training kicked in as she checked for breathing, for a pulse, for any sign that they hadn't lost him. The crowd fell silent. The only sound, the distant wail of sirens and the pounding of Sarah's own heart. Time seemed to stand still as Sarah and Mike worked desperately to stabilize Phoenix. Every second felt like an eternity. Each breath might be his last. The once proud German Shepherd lay broken on the asphalt, his life slipping away despite their best efforts. The reality of their situation hit them like a physical blow. They were losing him. The morning sun cast harsh shadows across Phoenix's face as his breathing grew more shallow. Sarah could feel his heartbeat weakening under her hands, each pulse a fading reminder of the precious life they were trying to save. The crowd had grown larger, but their voices seemed distant now, as if the world had narrowed to just this moment, just this struggle between life and death. Through it all, Phoenix's eyes never left Sarah's face. Even as his strength failed, even as pain racked his broken body, there was something in those eyes that spoke of an unbreakable spirit. He was fighting, not just for survival, but for a chance at the life he deserved. A life filled with love instead of cruelty, comfort instead of pain. Dr. Cooper's voice on the phone grew more urgent. "His organs are shutting down. If we don't get him stabilized in the next few minutes, we're going to lose him." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. They had come so far, touched something so profound in this broken creature's spirit. They couldn't lose him now. But Phoenix's life was slipping away before their eyes, and they seemed powerless to stop it. Mike's years of emergency response experience told him they were reaching a critical point. Phoenix's breathing had become erratic, his pulse thread, and his eyes were beginning to glaze over. The German Shepherd was dying on that hot Phoenix street, surrounded by strangers who had become his last hope for survival. The next few moments would determine whether their efforts had been in vain, or if Phoenix would get his miracle after all. Just when all hope seemed lost, a black SUV screeched to a halt beside them. Dr. Cooper himself had decided to come to the scene, bringing with him emergency medical equipment and years of experience saving animals in critical condition. The veterinarian's presence seemed to shift the energy in the air. Suddenly there was a glimmer of possibility where moments before there had been only despair. Dr. Cooper's practiced eyes took in Phoenix's condition with professional detachment, but his hands shook slightly as he prepared an emergency IV line. "He's one of the worst cases I've seen," he muttered, working quickly to insert the needle into Phoenix's dehydrated body. "But I've seen miracles before, and this dog, there's something special about him. He's fighting harder than any animal I've ever treated." The crowd held its collective breath as Dr. Cooper administered emergency medications through the IV. Phoenix's body was so weak that finding a vein had been challenging, but the doctor's experienced hands had managed it. Now, precious fluids and medications were flowing into the German Shepherd's system, beginning the desperate fight to save his failing organs. Sarah noticed it first, a subtle change in Phoenix's breathing. The desperate, shallow gasps began to even out, becoming slightly deeper, more regular. Dr. Cooper nodded in approval, his tense shoulders relaxing slightly. "He's responding to the treatment. It's not much, but it's something. Now we need to get him to the clinic without losing this fragile progress." Mike's firefighter training proved invaluable as they prepared to move Phoenix. Using equipment from Dr. Cooper's SUV and his own experience with trauma victims, he helped create a secure transport system that would minimize any additional stress on the dog's broken body. Every movement was planned, every possibility considered. They couldn't afford any mistakes now. A low whimper escaped Phoenix's throat as they began to lift him, but this time it was different. His eyes, though still clouded with pain, held a new awareness. The IV fluids were bringing him back from the brink, giving him strength he hadn't had minutes before. Dr. Cooper's face broke into a cautious smile. It wasn't victory yet, but it was the first real sign of hope. The local news crew, who had been filming the rescue effort, captured the moment Phoenix was carefully lifted onto the stretcher. His tail, which had been limp and lifeless, twitched slightly, a tiny movement that brought tears to Sarah's eyes. It was as if the German Shepherd was telling them he wasn't ready to give up, that he understood they were trying to help. The drive to the clinic became a community effort. Police officers cleared a path through the morning traffic, their sirens parting the sea of cars like magic. Phoenix lay in the back of Dr. Cooper's SUV, his head cradled in Sarah's lap, while Mike followed close behind. The city of Phoenix seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see if this one precious life could be saved. Inside the SUV, every bump in the road made Sarah's heart skip a beat, but Phoenix remained stable. The IV fluids were making a difference. His gums were beginning to pink up, and his breathing, while still labored, had a stronger rhythm. Dr. Cooper kept glancing in the rearview mirror, his expression a mixture of concern and growing optimism. The clinic staff were waiting when they arrived, a well-orchestrated team ready to continue the fight for Phoenix's life. As they transferred him from the SUV to the clinic's treatment area, his eyes found Sarah's face again. There was something different in his gaze now, a spark of life that had been rekindled, a silent message that touched her soul. "Thank you for not giving up on me." The next few hours would be critical, but already Phoenix was showing signs of his incredible resilience. Blood tests revealed that despite the severity of his condition, his vital organs were responding to treatment. Dr. Cooper called it remarkable, a testament to the German Shepherd's will to live and the timing of their intervention. News of Phoenix's rescue had spread across social media like wildfire. The clinic's phones were ringing constantly with offers of help, donations, and messages of support from around the country. The German Shepherd's story had touched something in people's hearts, becoming a symbol of hope and the power of compassion in an often dark world. As Phoenix received treatment, more of his story came to light. A witness came forward with security camera footage showing him being dumped from a car weeks ago. The images were heartbreaking, but they also provided crucial evidence for the police investigation that was now underway. Phoenix's abusers would be held accountable. Justice would be part of his healing process. The transformation in Phoenix's condition over the next 24 hours amazed even Dr. Cooper. Though still critical, the German Shepherd's vital signs stabilized, and his blood work showed improvement. More importantly, his eyes had begun to track movement around him with growing alertness, and his tail would wag weakly whenever Sarah or Mike entered the room. One moment stood out as the true turning point in Phoenix's journey. Late that night, as Sarah sat beside his treatment kennel, he lifted his head for the first time and gently licked her hand. The gesture was small, but its meaning was profound. Phoenix wasn't just fighting to survive anymore. He was beginning to trust, to hope, to believe in the possibility of a better life. The media attention brought unexpected blessings. A local pet nutrition company donated a year's supply of premium dog food for Phoenix's recovery. A physical therapy center offered free rehabilitation services. But most touching were the letters and drawings from children, sent to the brave dog who didn't give up, covering the clinic's walls with messages of love and encouragement. The security footage of Phoenix's abandonment led to an anonymous tip, and within days, police had identified the individuals responsible. The investigation revealed a larger case of animal abuse, and Phoenix's story would ultimately lead to the shutdown of an illegal puppy mill. His suffering would help prevent other animals from facing the same fate. Each day brought new signs of Phoenix's strengthening spirit. His wounds began to heal, his appetite returned, and the fear in his eyes was gradually replaced by trust. The German Shepherd who had collapsed on a hot Phoenix street was emerging as a symbol of resilience, his journey touching hearts and inspiring change far beyond the city limits. Dr. Cooper's cautious optimism grew into genuine excitement as Phoenix continued to surpass expectations. In 30 years of veterinary medicine, he told reporters, I've never seen an animal with such determination to live. Phoenix isn't just surviving. He's showing us all what it means to truly fight for a second chance at life. The turning point in Phoenix's story wasn't just about his physical recovery. It was about the way his journey had brought an entire community together. People who had never met were united in their support for this brave German Shepherd, their collective compassion creating a wave of positive change that would continue long after his immediate crisis had passed. The weeks following Phoenix's rescue brought transformations that amazed everyone involved in his care. The emaciated frame that had collapsed on the street began to fill out, muscles rebuilding beneath a coat that was now beginning to shine with health. His eyes, once dull with pain and fear, sparkled with newfound joy as he grew stronger each day. Physical therapy sessions became the highlight of Phoenix's recovery journey. The German Shepherd approached each challenge with determination that brought tears to his therapist's eyes. From barely being able to stand, he progressed to taking his first tentative steps, each small victory celebrated by the growing family of supporters who had rallied around him. Sarah's daily visits became a source of boundless joy for Phoenix. The moment she walked through the clinic doors, his tail would start wagging, and a soft whine of happiness would escape his throat. The bond between them had deepened into something profound, a connection forged in that desperate moment on the street and strengthened through every step of his recovery. Dr. Cooper found himself constantly amazed by Phoenix's resilience. Most dogs who've been through such trauma struggle with trust, he explained to visiting veterinary students. But Phoenix seems to understand that his past is behind him. He's not just healing physically. He's teaching us all something about the capacity for forgiveness and the power of love to transform lives. The security cameras that had captured Phoenix's abandonment now recorded very different scenes. The German Shepherd playing in the clinic's rehabilitation yard, his powerful body moving with growing confidence as he chased toys and interacted with other dogs. His journey from near death to vibrant life had become an inspiration to everyone who witnessed it. As Phoenix's strength returned, his personality began to shine through. The fearful, broken dog from the street revealed himself to be gentle and incredibly intelligent. He showed a particular tenderness toward other injured animals at the clinic, often lying beside their cages, as if offering comfort and encouragement through their own recovery journeys. The investigation into Phoenix's abuse led to multiple arrests and the discovery of a criminal network involved in dogfighting. His story sparked local legislation aimed at strengthening animal protection laws, ensuring that his suffering would lead to better protection for other animals. Phoenix had become more than just a survivor. He was a catalyst for change. Sarah's decision to adopt Phoenix officially came as no surprise to anyone who had witnessed their bond. The moment she signed the papers, Phoenix pressed against her leg, looking up at her with eyes that seemed to understand the significance of the moment. He was no longer a victim or a patient. He was finally, truly home. The transformation in Phoenix's physical appearance was remarkable. His coat had grown thick and lustrous, his frame had filled out with healthy muscle, and he moved with the natural grace of his breed. But it was the change in his spirit that truly touched everyone who knew his story. The way he approached each day with joy, trust, and an open heart. Media coverage of Phoenix's recovery reached millions, inspiring people around the world. Letters poured in from those who found hope in his journey, who saw in his story a reflection of their own struggles and the possibility of overcoming seemingly impossible odds. Phoenix had become a symbol of resilience and the transformative power of compassion. The clinic staff organized a special celebration for Phoenix's official graduation from medical care. The once dying dog now proudly wore a graduation cap as he walked confidently through a corridor of cheering supporters. Dr. Cooper fought back tears as he handed Sarah Phoenix's final medical clearance, a document that seemed impossible just months before. Phoenix's impact on the community continued to grow. Sarah began taking him to schools and hospitals where his gentle nature and inspiring story helped others facing their own challenges. Children who were scared of dogs found courage in his presence, and patients fighting illness drew strength from his example of overcoming adversity. The same street where Phoenix had collapsed became the starting point for an annual walk against animal cruelty, with Phoenix leading the way. Hundreds of people and their pets joined the event, their presence a testament to how one dog's story could mobilize an entire community to stand up against abuse and neglect. Mike, still part of Phoenix's extended family, often marveled at the dog's transformation. "When we found him, I wasn't sure he'd survive the next hour," he would say, watching Phoenix play in Sarah's backyard. "Now look at him. He's not just surviving, he's thriving. He's showing us all what's possible when we refuse to give up hope." The local pet nutrition company that had donated to Phoenix's recovery made him their official mascot, featuring his story in campaigns that promoted pet adoption and responsible ownership. His image on their packages served as a reminder that every animal deserves a chance at a happy, healthy life. Phoenix's first anniversary in his new home was celebrated with a community event that raised thousands of dollars for animal rescue organizations. As he greeted well-wishers with a wagging tail and friendly demeanor, it was hard to believe this was the same dog who had been at death's door a year earlier. Sarah often found herself watching Phoenix as he slept peacefully in his bed, marveling at the journey they had shared. The nightmares that had plagued him in the early days were gone, replaced by the contented sighs of a dog who knew he was safe, loved, and home. His transformation was a daily reminder of the miraculous power of love and second chances. The clinic where Phoenix had recovered became known as a place of hope, with people traveling from far away to seek help for injured and abused animals. His story had created a ripple effect of compassion, inspiring others to take action when they saw animals in need. Dr. Cooper used Phoenix's case in his veterinary lectures, not just as a medical success story, but as a testament to the importance of never giving up. "Sometimes the greatest miracles," he would tell his students, "happen when we refuse to accept what seems impossible." Phoenix's journey from the brink of death to a life filled with love and purpose had touched countless lives, but perhaps the most profound transformation was in the hearts of those who had been part of his rescue. They had saved him, but in doing so, they had been changed themselves, reminded of the extraordinary impact that compassion and determination can have in the face of seemingly hopeless situations. Looking back at Phoenix's journey from that fateful morning on East Van Buren Street, it's impossible not to be moved by the profound impact one dog's story had on an entire community. The German Shepherd who had collapsed on the hot asphalt, closer to death than life, had not only survived but had become a living testament to the power of hope, resilience, and unconditional love. Every morning, as Phoenix bounds through Sarah's backyard, his powerful frame moving with the grace and confidence that seemed impossible during those dark early days, he reminds us that miracles don't just happen. They're created by people who refuse to look away, who choose to act when others might walk past. His eyes, once clouded by pain and fear, now shine with a joy that touches everyone he meets. The changes sparked by Phoenix's story continue to ripple outward. The legislation passed in his name has protected countless other animals from abuse, while the annual awareness walk he inspired brings together thousands of people united in their commitment to preventing animal cruelty. His journey from victim to victor has shown that even the darkest situations can be transformed by the light of compassion. As Sarah watches Phoenix playing with the neighborhood children, who know him as the gentle giant who gives sloppy kisses and patient piggyback rides, she's often struck by how far they've come. The desperate hours on that hot street seem like a lifetime ago, yet the lesson remains clear. Every life has value, and sometimes the most broken beings have the most to teach us about healing, forgiveness, and the capacity for joy. Dr. Cooper still uses Phoenix's before and after photos in his presentations, but it's not just the physical transformation that moves his audiences. It's the story of a community coming together, of strangers becoming family, of hope persisting in the face of seemingly impossible odds. Phoenix's journey has become a blueprint for what's possible when people choose love over indifference. Mike, who still visits regularly with treats in his pockets and love in his heart, often reflects on that morning when everything hung in the balance. Phoenix didn't just survive, he tells people. He showed us all how to live, with courage, with forgiveness, and with an open heart. He reminded us that sometimes the greatest acts of humanity happen when we reach out to those who can't ask for help. The security cameras that once captured Phoenix's abandonment now record a very different scene. The proud German Shepherd, walking confidently beside Sarah during their morning rounds, bringing comfort to other animals and humans in need. His story has become a beacon of hope, proving that even the deepest wounds can heal when given the chance. Perhaps the most powerful legacy of Phoenix's journey is the way it continues to inspire others to take action. Every week, the local shelter receives calls from people who say, "I remembered Phoenix's story and I couldn't just drive by." His experience has created a ripple effect of compassion that grows stronger with each passing day. For Phoenix himself, the past is just that, past. He lives fully in the present, embracing each day with the enthusiasm and joy that only a dog who has known true darkness can appreciate. His resilience teaches us that it's not our past that defines us, but how we choose to move forward and the love we share along the way. As this story comes to a close, Phoenix rests peacefully in his favorite spot in Sarah's garden, his powerful frame relaxed in the Arizona sunshine. He is more than just a survivor now. He is a teacher, a healer, and a living reminder that love, when given the chance, can truly conquer all. And in his eyes, bright with joy and trust, we see reflected the very best of what humanity can be when we choose to act with compassion, courage, and unwavering hope.